It's such a big part of success in sport, and then kind of going it semi alone is I feel like you're going rogue a little. There's a lot of like, well, what are you doing now?
Yeah.
And I totally get it. Like, what are you doing to live up to these Olympics and NFL and all of these things? And it's like, well, incremental progress. And then all of a sudden I feel like the light turns on. You're like, whoa, it is the same,
Hello and welcome back to Redirected. I'm your host, Andrew East, and this is a show where we sit down with celebrities, athletes, entrepreneurs, really anybody who has encountered significant unexpected changes in life. And I think we all take a step back. We can acknowledge that everybody goes through significant unexpected events in life. And so I wanted to sit down with these people who have gone through those well in order to learn something myself and share that wisdom with you. Today we have a real treat with us. We sit down and talk with world and Olympic ice dancer and figure skater Meryl Davis, and she talks to us about how she ultimately transitioned away from her sport that she had spent her entire life doing and into something else, found her new passions and pursued those with her whole heart, just like she did figure skating. And I think this is an important episode because every one of us at some point devotes a lot of our time to one activity or one career, and ultimately we're faced with the reality that we have to transition out of that, whether we got fired or we just realized that that wasn't for us. And so Meryl shares some really, really great pieces of wisdom on how she did it and how you can do it better. So if you guys want to find out more about Meryl, you can find her information in the show notes down below. If you haven't, go ahead and subscribe to this podcast wherever you're listening to it. Give it a rating. I would much appreciate it. And let's just go ahead and jump into it. Meryl, thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited. I was so honored when you asked.
Yeah, this is going to be fun. I first want to start off and congratulate you. Just got married 2 months ago.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. And congratulations to you. A baby on the way. So I think much has changed since we last met.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot has happened. I would love to hear about the wedding because you got married in France, right?
Yeah, that's right. We got married in actually an American family's vacation home in Provence, just outside of Avignon. And it was beautiful. It was magical. It was so much fun. And it's definitely coming home. We decided to postpone our honeymoon. And so coming home after the wedding, we were like, back to work.
Yeah.
The wedding was incredible. And I guess I wasn't totally prepared for, especially with a destination wedding, how special and exciting it would be to have all of our friends and family in one place. I don't know if you experienced that same feeling, but sort of having so many of the people you love the most from different times and different parts of your life be in one place was the coolest feeling. So we had the time of our lives.
Yeah, there's something magical about it, huh? Can you say Provence one more time? You said it so nice.
Provence.
You got such a nice accent. The second thing I want to talk to you about is where do you get your hats? Because your hat style is rocking. You got some swag.
Thank you. I just removed all my hats from the shelves.
No, put them back. Yes. Oh, you got a lot. You have a lot.
Most of my hats are a result of being lazy, like not wanting to do my hair. But I love a good hat. I like protecting my skin from the sun, and it's good to go. But yeah, no, I definitely I would say 95% of the time I'm wearing a hat. So
it's a good look. I don't know if you could see the flow going on here, but I clearly my hat could use some work.
It looks great.
I would love to
backwards cap quite as well as you do, but it looks awesome.
Well, thank you. I would love to hear about your upbringing, Meryl. So you were raised in the Detroit area, right?
That's right. Yeah, I was born in a suburb of Detroit called West Bloomfield. And I grew up in a lake neighborhood. And so there's a local lake. And so all the neighborhood kids would, we spent every summer at the beach. I think other than slipping on skates, I don't think I wore shoes throughout summer of my childhood. And to me, that just is so representative of joy and happiness. It's just like running around, freedom, spending time with friends, family, neighbors, and just that just like informal setting and atmosphere. I love that. And then the lake, of course, froze over in the winter. And so that's where I learned to skate. And I come from a very, very close-knit family. I have one younger brother, Clay, who now lives in San Francisco. And my parents, I have no shame in saying this. My parents are like the nicest people I have ever met in my entire life. I'm so lucky. Sometimes, especially when I'm spending time with them now as an adult, I just look at them and I think I have no idea how I got so lucky to have people like that as parents. They're just kind, like nice, warm-hearted people. And life obviously has its many challenges for all of us, but ultimately when I get to spend time with my family, I just think nothing else really matters because they're pretty cool.
So were they into, by the way, I have to ask, because I'm so thrown off by this. I saw the term ice dancing for the first time. I thought it was always figure skating to me. Is there a difference?
Well, ice dancing is a discipline of figure skating. So within the sport of figure skating, we have ladies singles, men's singles, pair skating, and ice dancing. So ice dancing is our discipline.
I am so embarrassed that I did not know that, but thank you for the education. Were your parents into skating?
My parents were not into skating. My mom was really athletic when she was younger, but she never really pursued anything long term in sports. And my dad is not of the athletic persuasion. So neither of my parents were really skaters. And on top of the fact that I grew up in a lake neighborhood, I was a really, really energetic little kid. And so I think my parents were happy to just be like, go expend some of that energy on the ice. And I fell in love with it immediately and just never looked back.
Wow. Well, you've had an amazing career. Just to give the audience a quick highlight. So 2014 Olympic champion, 2010 Olympic silver medalist, 2-time world champion, 5-time Grand Prix champion. The list goes on. I am curious which of those accolades, or maybe it doesn't even have to be an event that you won, but what are you most proud of when you look back on your career?
That's a great question. I would definitely say, while the medals and the accolades are cool, and it's a lot of those things have definitely opened doors for me and enhanced my life in a lot of ways. The people that I got a chance to know, become close with and learn from over the years are by far the best part of my skating career and my athletic career. Whether it's coaches, fellow competitors, people that I trained with, the figure skating community just has been a part of my life for so long, and getting a chance to go through the ups and downs with such incredible people and learn the lessons and just have these insanely cool experiences that I never in a million years would have otherwise had. Going to, Belgrade, Serbia, with my mom and Charlie and his mom when we were, teenagers basically, and just getting to sort of open my mind and my life perspective and world perspective through skating has been definitely so incredible.
Wow. And I would be remiss if I didn't bring up Charlie, who you have been partners with since 1997, I believe. The longest paired dance team in the U.S. 20 years?
More than 20. Yeah. It's we got really lucky. A lot of people in our sport have to either move across the country to find, a partner that's a good fit for them physically and in terms of personality and skating style. And a lot of people, actually, a big thing in the skating world is citizenship and having to change citizenship to represent the country that your appropriate partner is from, and how long do you have to wait for citizenship in order to represent that country, at the Olympic Games, things like that. And Charlie and I grew up like 7 or 8 minutes down the road from each other.
No way.
I know. Both sets of our parents still live in the houses that we were born in. We got really lucky. And then also being from Detroit, has just for years been sort of one of the places in the world where the world's top figure skating coaches were teaching and living. And so again, like a lot of people moved from Russia and Italy and France and all over the world to take from these coaches in the Detroit area. And Charlie and I were like, oh good, it's just like a 10-minute drive to the local rink. We definitely, a lot of things align for us for sure.
I was reading an article, and there's a whole section on, it seems like you're very passionate about Detroit and thankful for the opportunities that it has presented. But I've been mildly introduced to the gymnastics culture, obviously, marrying Sean, and she kind of had a similar experience where like it was really like a God thing where it's like she had an amazing coach that was 10 minutes down the road, and now people are flying across the country, and just the whole world of sports where people are literally transplanting their whole family is like wild. And the fact that you didn't have to do that seems like a big blessing.
It's such a blessing. And I think even just the thing about that I'm most grateful for is Charlie and I didn't have to leave our families, right? Like so many kids, when they sort of like hit that stage of sport and life, maybe 11 to 14, they realize they have talent, they realize there's possibility, and then they have to, either their families have to move with them or they have to leave their families behind and go live with another family or live on their own at a really young age. And Charlie and I were able to, continue living with our families and go to the school that we had always gone to and graduate high school with our graduating class. And the sense of normalcy definitely was, I'm incredibly grateful for.
It does seem, one thing I've heard you bring up a lot in previous interviews is like how you really tried to have a focus on being well balanced and going to high school and going to college. And you were part of a sorority, weren't you?
Yes. I don't know how I did it. I think now about, training, going to school, and then like participating in sorority active. I loved it. I had the most amazing time. But I think now about all of those obligations, I don't know how I did it. I was young.
You studied Italian and cultural anthropology. Is that right? What even is that?
So I just have 2 classes left for my undergraduate degree. So you're catching me between chapters in my Geography 101 online course that I'm currently taking. But I've been sort of very, very slowly chipping away at school since 2006. College since 2006. And so I'm 2 classes away from graduating. So it's been a long one. It's been a very long road. And cultural anthropology. Actually, since I started at the University of Michigan, they have shifted and you can no longer major in cultural anthropology.
No.
I know. It's like a Van Wilder type situation. But so now you just have to major in anthropology. So the game is changing as I'm playing it, and it's pretty funny. But and minor in Italian. Yeah.
Very cool. It seems like travel is a big theme in your life, and even with the choice of studies that you have, do you think that was sparked with having to travel to different competitions and like getting exposure to different cultures? Is that something that was just inherent in you?
Absolutely. By the way, I'm so incredibly impressed with how much research you've done, especially considering how much you have going on. I know you are in a very busy, full life yourself. So thank you so much, and thank you for, it's amazing.
Honestly, I really enjoyed listening to your interview. You have such a bubbly personality, and like you're just right. So I enjoyed it. So anyway, thank you.
But I'll answer. I didn't mean to interrupt your flow, but so I always loved traveling. And like I said, Charlie and I were really lucky to travel from a really young age, going to Europe and going to Asia, in our mid-teens, late teens, and just seeing the way other people live and how their culture and their perspective changed the way they lived their lives, the way they interacted with other people, the way they thought about themselves and what they wanted out of life was so fascinating to me. The fact that where we're from and sort of the context of the culture we grow up in has such an impact on our entire lives, just sort of blew me away. And so traveling the world and getting to learn about other people and cultures and sort of expand your sense of self in doing that just is something that I was always incredibly passionate about. And I picked up a National Geographic probably when I was like maybe 15 or 16, and I started reading all these articles, and sort of all the articles that I gravitated towards as I continued reading this magazine were sort of anthropologically focused articles. And so I was talking to my dad about it, and he's like, oh, you should major in what you love. So here we are, anthropology.
Right. It is cool. I feel like with your sport of choice, and you mentioned this, the multifacets, the number of facets. I don't even know how to say that. What am I saying? The multifaceted approach of figure skating, where you are acting, you're doing costume design, you're doing storytelling. It is kind of cool that plays into your travel to a certain extent, where like, even though you might not speak the same language of wherever you're at, like anybody from across the world, and you have millions watching when you're competing, like can appreciate what you're doing and the art of it. And it's cool how that plays in.
Well, I'm sure you and Sean have experienced the same thing, both together and individually in your sports, but sport just has this incredible way, like you said, of bringing people together. And especially when I was younger, a lot of our competitors didn't speak English, and being able to appreciate sort of like this common ground that we were on, and having a mutual respect for the work and the effort and sort of the ability of the human body and spirit to overcome all of these obstacles, whether it's on a daily basis or something like the Olympic Games. I mean, I think that's one of the incredible parts of sport, is just the ability to bring people together, for sure.
Yeah. So I want to talk about post skating. You won Dancing with the Stars.
Yep.
Have that in common with Sean. I have no experience with that, but congrats.
Thank
you. It was wonderful to watch you dance. And then one thing that you seem passionate about talking about is your transition. And you mentioned that you're after competition, you go to Hawaii and you're sitting on the beach trying to figure out what's next for you. Can you walk us through what that was like for you? Today's episode is brought to you by Zebit. We've all been there, suffered through those times when we really needed something. A bigger TV to watch the game, new tires on your car, a tablet to keep track of your busy schedule. But how many of you have the kind of cash lying around to cover those expenses? That's why you need to check out Zebit. With Zebit, you can shop millions of products from your favorite brands and pay for them interest-free over time. Simply choose a product you love and just pay a small portion of the price at checkout. The rest you pay over time at 0% interest. Check this out. I'm looking at a pair of AirPods on Zebit, which go for retail anywhere else at about $159. And on Zebit, I'm just paying about $30 and the rest 0% interest over time. In addition to interest-free credit, Zebit has no cost to join, no late fees, and no membership fees. Sign up for Zebit today at zebit.com/east and get up to $2,500 credit to shop the Zebit marketplace at 0 interest and 0 cost to join. That's zebit.com/east for $2,500 of interest-free credit. Zebit.com/east. Today's episode is brought to you by ClearBank. ClearBank is changing the way entrepreneurs raise money with equity-free capital. Co-founder Michelle Romanow, star of Canada's Dragon's Den, which is a Canadian version of Shark Tank, co-founded ClearBank with her partner Andrew D'Souza after seeing how many companies were willing to part with precious equity in exchange for a bigger marketing budget. ClearBank believes that founders shouldn't give up a piece of their company to fund marketing and inventory expenses. ClearBank makes equity-free investments from $10,000 to $10 million and can get you a term sheet in less than 20 minutes. They charge a small flat fee for the capital, and you pay them back using a win-win revenue share. This is not a loan. There is no interest rate. There's no fixed maturation date, no personal guarantees, no credit checks, and no financial covenants. ClearBank has relationships with marketing agencies, e-commerce professionals, venture capitalists, accountants, and more, giving you a true unfair advantage in the market. ClearBank invested over $150 million in 2018 and is on track to invest over $1 billion this year. Some notable portfolio companies are Public Goods, Lisa Sleep, Latote, and Buffy, just to name a few. So if you are doing over $10,000 a month in revenue, find out how you can receive ClearBank Capital by getting your 20-minute term sheet at clearbank.com/east. That's clear, B-A-N-C, bank with a C.com/east. ClearBank. Stop pitching and get back to doing what you love, growing your business. The whole theme of the show kind of is like, what do you do when you're faced with an unexpected event or a fork in the road in life? And you've certainly experienced that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I appreciate the opportunity to talk about it. Charlie and I, we had been sort of, as we talked about, we had been training and working for so long, and we were so singularly focused, right? Like we were so focused on not necessarily winning the Olympics, but those performances at the 2014 games. We did everything we needed to do, from like eating the right things to sleeping the right way. And just everything was in preparation for those moments at the games. And we hadn't given a lot of thought to whether or not we would want to return to competition. But in the year leading up to the 2014 Olympics, I was very stressed. And I guess in the back of my mind, I sort of thought, I'll go, like you said, to Hawaii and just sort of detox and like relax and just enjoy the meaning of life and a slower pace for 6 months. Like I'll need a good 6 months to just sort of hit the reset button and just enjoy life. And we did Dancing with the Stars, which was an incredible experience. I went to Hawaii for 2 weeks, incredible. And yet I found that when I was there, my lack of direction, even though we literally, I think it was like a week or two after Dancing with the Stars, but my lack of direction and lack of a concrete goal, lack of what at the time felt like a lack of purpose, really started to bother me very quickly. And like I said, while I really thought I would just be, enjoying ordering smoothies, going for walks on the beach, I felt this absence of a sense of purpose that I had felt for so long. And that's something that has taken me, and I'm still figuring it out. I'm definitely in a different place than I was 5 years ago, but I think it's one of those things where sport is a great example of things that people go through outside of the world of sport as well. And I think it oftentimes happens when people are a little bit older and they're retiring from a career they've had their entire lives. But we shoot for that thing, that moment, that achievement that we can sort of like check off the list and have. And yet, especially as athletes, we retire at, 25, 27, 30 years old, and you have a whole life left to live. And while many of us have found this passion at 5 years old, 7 years old, we are then, I hate to say forced, because it is an exciting thing that we have the opportunity to find something new. But especially at certain times, I felt as though I was forcing myself to find something else that I was excited about. And it's been hard. I'm sure a lot of your guests, I know you have like 55 guests or something like that, which is incredible. And it's so cool that you're diving into different people's stories and finding this common ground of this transition that people go through, because it is so challenging. I think so often we wrap up our identities and who we are in what we do, and taking the time to separate those things and really be able to listen to, what do I really want out of life? Like, what's going to make me happy? What is going to fulfill me? How am I going to find purpose on a daily basis? Because ultimately, the standing on a podium, the medals, the accolades, the promotions, the raises, whatever it is, are great, but life is one day at a time. And so I think that's been something that I've really had to learn to embrace and sort of think of a bit differently since transitioning away from competition.
Yeah. I feel like we live in a time where there's a bunch of like motivational speakers that you come across on the internet. And it seems like, they're telling you like, you need to figure it out. You need to figure it out. And like actually figuring out is a way different task than just like, having that confidence that who knows where it comes from. But then as athletes, there is this vacuum that is created when sport is done. Mm-hmm. And I would say it's a bigger vacuum the further you progress in the sport and the longer you do it, because like you're just investing, your whole community is in that sport. All your time has been in that sport. You're so used to that. I don't want to say it's not instant gratification, because like your sport, you train, for 4 years to get to the Olympics or whatever, like your ultimate goal was. And then like, it's not instant gratification, but there is this sense of, I know that when I go into the gym and train, mm-hmm. I will see some type of progress, like usually that's how it is as sports. And like but when you're done with that, you sit back and you're like, okay, well, I'm not hanging out with the people that I am used to hanging out with. I am no longer competing. So what is there left for me to do? It's a very tough spot for me to be, or for anybody to be in. And I think I'm super thankful for how my professional football career has panned out, because it forced me to come to terms with the fact that, hey, there has to be more to life than football for you, or else like you'll be sitting around sad the whole time. But
100%. And I think it's interesting because you say the instant gratification, which I agree, I think to a certain extent is very true. And I think one of the things about sport that you sort of have to let go of, I feel like, as you move away from, is the applause, like literally and figuratively, right? Like when you're working hard, you're making progress, you show up at a competition, people are on their feet, they're clapping for you, good job, you did it, you go home, you're refreshed, you're rewarded, you go back to work and you do it all again. And, for the vast majority of people, real life isn't like that. Like you're working hard, you're making progress, you're doing everything you possibly can. No one's giving you a standing ovation. No one's clapping for you. And whether it's the literal experience of hearing that applause, or just the meaning of it, right? Like being recognized for this incremental improvement and the things that you're doing is something that we get very accustomed to. But I think it's also interesting because over time, I think I have realized that, like you said, you go into the gym, you see the progress, and in sport, that's what makes it so exciting.
Yeah.
And then you move away from sport and it feels like the opposite. It feels like I don't have that same sense of instant gratification. I don't have that same, incremental progress. And then all of a sudden I feel like the light turns on. You're like, whoa, it is the same, And I'm thinking, no, I still have to set those same goals. I still have to have incremental progress, and I have to take pride in, 5 steps and not look ahead to, I can only pat myself on the back after I got to this like major lofty goal. Mm-hmm. So I think, at least for me, a lot of the process has been relearning and accepting that a lot of these things that make sport such a beautiful experience are actually applicable to the world outside of sport. It's just in a really different way.
I needed to hear that. So thank you for sharing. I was briefly telling you before the show that I recently got released, and it's like, as far as I've come in maturing outside of football, there still is this like attachment, and like, it's been your dream forever. And when it doesn't pan out like you think it is, there's a certain amount of heartbreak. There's 2 things that I really struggle with. Was one, the lack of structure. And like in sport, you have a coach, you have a daily routine, you have like you have this really, really intense structure, and then you leave that and it's like, it's exciting because now you're in charge of everything, but it's also the worst thing ever because you're not used to having that type of freedom and that type of domain over like what you're spending your time on. And then 2, I don't know if you felt this, but like conversationally too, when you leave the sport, like you're so used to being like, oh, like people asking you, how'd the competition go, or how's training? And like, then that's gone. And there's almost this awkwardness of like, what do we talk about?
I think, and I don't know if you're experiencing this, but there's a lot of like, well, what are you doing now? You know,
Yeah.
I totally get it. Like it's
Yeah.
an honest question. And yet because so many of us have this sort of like internal struggle, other people wouldn't necessarily know that it's a bit of a trigger, right? Like,
Yeah.
well, what are you doing to live up to these Olympics and NFL and all of these things? And it's like, well, I'm trying to finish my undergraduate degree and figure out what makes me happy, and I'm really trying to like, yeah, it can be stressful, and I totally understand what you're saying. And I think another big thing that I found is moving away from Olympics and Dancing with the Stars. A lot of people said, well, you got to strike while the iron's hot, right? Like, you got to make the most of this time and this opportunity. And I didn't really know what that meant, I guess. And I don't know. I mean, moving away from football, I don't know if you are moving away from football or in this experience that you're currently in or the time that you're currently in. Do you feel like you are in a place where you can listen to your own voice and sort of follow your own path? Or do you feel it's difficult to navigate the waters with so many other influences, both positive and negative, I suppose?
Yeah. I mean, it's taken me 5 years, and like year one was like the saddest year of my life. I was just like, I just was doing nothing. I was like laying on the couch, just like, I signed up to be like an Uber driver. I had no idea what I was doing. I had graduated from Vanderbilt with like 2 degrees. And so like, I think I could have done something, but there's this lack of self-confidence that you're able to do anything else. And you kind of go from this like attitude of like the Nike just do it vibe to like, I feel like the thing that helped me move past that, the sadness, was like this, hey, you got to just do something vibe. And I think I have been able to, by just getting involved in whatever, figure out what I'm interested in, what I'm not. And then like, you just gotta walk down the path, and you'll kind of figure out what you're into and where you're going. So that's been my experience. But
it's just so hard when you've had that one thing that you know you're in love with since you're a kid, and then all of a sudden you're like, just gotta pick something.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah. I would love to hear, so your husband, Fedor, you mentioned that his mom was your coach. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Marina Stanwell is a world-renowned figure skating coach. She doesn't just coach ice dance, but I had been taking her from her since maybe full-time since 2005, but we kind of started working with her maybe in 2003, Charlie and I did. And Fedor is her son. Yeah.
I brought her up to hear about the team that has helped you achieve the amount of success that you have. So Charlie.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, would love to hear about that.
Well, she's amazing. Marina is just incredible. She's brilliant. She's a true artist. And I think one of the things that really makes her, I mean, we don't work with her every day anymore, but she's still coaching. And one of the things that makes her such an incredible coach is her psychological approach to getting the most out of you, right? Like she's really working with her students mentally to wrap their heads around, why am I doing this? How can I like give more? How can I be there for my partner, be there for the people around me, recognize how special it is to get to do these things that we're doing on the ice or in sport. And, I think that was one of the difficult parts actually moving away from competition as well, is like you said, you have this support team, whether it's, having Charlie there. Charlie and I are in things together 24/7, 6 days a week for 20 some years or whatever. And, I have these amazing coaches, and we have, if we need it, we have access to a nutritionist. We have access to a sports psychologist. We have, masseuse, like helping us with our sore muscles. And I'm sure you have experienced the same thing. And then you sort of move away. And of course, you could gather another team together and we have this community of people who could be there for us. But definitely the team is such a big part of success in sport. And then kind of going it semi alone is you feel like you're going rogue a little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I ask you, so you've been trying to get your undergraduate degree. Is this year 13? Is that right? Did I do the math right?
Yeah. So
Why?
why so long? That's a good
Why
question.
are you still pursuing it? Because I mean, first of all, hats off to you. Second of all, not a lot of people would do that. So I'm curious, why are you doing it?
That's a good question. I took, my first year of college, I took 1 or 2 classes per semester. I was actually living on campus because I really wanted, as I said, I was in a sorority, and I didn't want to miss out on the college experience. I continued taking 1 or 2 classes per semester, and then I took the 2010 Olympic year and the 2014 Olympic year totally off. And so it was a very slow and steady chipping away at school. And since the 2014 Olympics, Charlie and I have been kind of on the road, especially maybe 2014 through through the 2018 Olympics, really, that we didn't compete in. We were on the road maybe 75% of the time, touring. And that's one of the things, talk about transition is like the theme of your show. And I think for a lot of figure skaters, we have the opportunity to skate professionally, even when we moved away from competitive sport. And I know gymnastics has a little bit of that as well in the Olympic year with the tour, but Charlie and I have really been able to continue doing what we love professionally. We spend a lot of time in Japan, in Europe, touring. And so I guess the point of my sharing that, it says my internet connection is unstable, so let me know if you can't hear me, is that I've continued doing school like very slowly when I'm on the road, and but ultimately it just is education has always been important to me. It's something that Charlie and I always took a lot of pride in, even when we were young growing up, was, prioritizing school, and skating was another huge part of our lives, but we didn't want to just sort of put our eggs in one basket, so to speak. And we also work with a lot of educational programs, academic programs for kids. And Charlie and I have spent years and years and years talking to our students about how important education is and what it can do for you. And not only would I be a hypocrite if I didn't listen to my own advice, it's really just like been by my saying it's been just drilled into my brain so deeply. And I'm so close too. And I also feel like I don't really know, like there are so many things that I do want to do and challenges that I want to tackle and things like that. But the fact of the matter is I don't really know what life holds for me or what challenges are out there. And I feel like taking pride in getting my degree, and then just having that and being able to, feel satisfied, right? Because that's another thing we talk about is just that feeling of progress and personal satisfaction. So again, this has been a very fragmented answer to that, but yeah, it's just, I guess in a nutshell, it's just important to me, and I'm so close. It would be really silly of me, like 5 credits away, to be like, you know what? I don't need that degree.
Well, no, I think you're a model in so many ways, and you pursuing getting a degree, I think, is an example. And just the amount of time you spend on it, I think, is such a great testimony to like, hey, you know what? It might take you 13 years, but you could do it if you want. It's something I was curious because Sean started school, didn't finish, and it's been like this. She's kind of tormented by it and is always considering going back to school. So she'll have to listen to this episode.
Yeah, we'll have to chat. We should chat about it.
I would also love to later talk to you about, so my brother was an Olympic cyclist. He's ultimately who introduced Sean and I, but he left the sport and was like roaming the world for a couple of years, and then ultimately started an organization called Hope Sports, where he like brings athletes in. They build a house in 2 days, and you get to know this family. They put you through this kind of like sports psychology or like programming so that you can, I ultimately like you just walk away with a lot of self-confidence and like belief that you're bigger than sport. So we'd love to talk to you about that another time. But 2 of your simpler pleasures in life, it sounds like, are baths and reading.
Yes.
Curious, what book are you into right now?
My uncle just gave me Sapiens,
Oh,
which is
whoa, deep.
a great book. And, I, as an anthropology major, I probably should have read it already. And I hadn't. So he just gave me that. So I'm just finishing that up right now, which is really interesting. It's a very like biological anthropology focus, which isn't. I've taken a lot of biological anthropology classes, so it's been really interesting. And yeah, that's the book that I'm reading right now. And baths. I mean, especially as an athlete, I don't know if you were into baths when you were training, but
Not really.
for me, especially like the stress of just you go and you're working out for 7 hours, you come home, you cook yourself a healthy meal, and then you just pour some like Epsom salt in a warm bath and turn on a movie or read a book in the tub, and you're excellent. It's really excellent.
I will say this, Sean has been purchasing a lot of those little Lush bath bombs, and some of those smell so good. I love them. But okay, I'd love for you to talk to us about the charities that you're involved in. So the two that I'm aware of are Classroom Champions and Detroit, or Figure Skating Detroit. So what are those all about?
Yeah, great. Well, Classroom Champions is a program Charlie and I have been working with since 2010, and essentially it is an athlete mentorship program. And so the program partners Olympic, Paralympic athletes with high-need classrooms around the country. And what we do is we send recorded videos to our classrooms once a month that have different themes. So one month it's goal setting, the next month it's perseverance, and then healthy living, community, we are all champions is another theme that we talk about. And so we are discussing these ideas based on our own experience in the world of Olympic sport, and then also talking about how these topics and these lessons apply to the world outside of sport as well. So, with skating, hey, we set the goal of winning the Olympics. You can't, when you're 5 years old, say, I want to win the Olympics, go. You have to set small, short, incremental goals, take pride in your progress on a daily basis. And so bringing these really tried and true, really easily understandable lessons from sport down to like an everyday level for young people, and then applying them to the world outside of sport is super cool. And we get a chance to chat with our classrooms, and I think it's cool because the kids, by the end of the school year, I think they really feel as though we're friends. And so feeling as though they have this person who's in their corner that they can connect with, and it sort of opens this door to maybe a world of possibility that they hadn't thought of before. So it's a program that I just love. And it's like I said, we've been doing it for 8 or 9 years now. So very cool. And then figure skating in Detroit, a lot of similarities in that essentially figure skating in Detroit is the first branch of a program called Figure Skating in Harlem that's been around for over 20 years. And we, the people in figure skating in Harlem, wanted to expand into a new city, do more amazing things. Already incredibly successful in Harlem. And so in Detroit, we knew that we had to convince the people in Harlem that Detroit was the next great place for figure skating in Harlem. So now it's Figure Skating in Detroit. And similar to Classroom Champions, what we're doing is taking lessons that are easily understood in sport and translating them to the outside world for young people. And so this program in particular is for young girls in the city of Detroit. And we use figure skating as an educational tool to teach the girls not just their own value, their own possibility. If you work hard, you can make progress, you can make anything happen, but also these concepts of you fall down, it's really hard, sometimes it doesn't feel good, you get yourself back up, you try again, you get better. Every day you keep working towards these same tricks or maneuvers or this new skill that you want to learn, and with enough time and dedication, it happens for you. And sort of setting out this roadmap for them that, Olympic figure skating certainly isn't the goal with figure skating in Detroit. The goal is to use figure skating as a tool to teach these young people how to apply these same skills we learn on the ice to life outside figure skating.
Very cool. That's awesome. I'm curious, where are you traveling to next?
Good question. My brother just texted me yesterday and asked if we wanted to go hiking in Kauai next month. And I was like, yes, I do. I know how to make that happen. So, next I'm going to Detroit next week for a week to prepare for an upcoming tour with Charlie. We're going to Tokyo for a tour in late August.
Sweet.
So we'll be in Tokyo late August through the beginning of September, and then back to LA, maybe Hawaii, and then we go back to Japan for another tour in October.
Can I just say, what a wild life you lived to forget that you were going to Tokyo?
I know. I love it so much.
What are your goals now, Meryl?
Good question. I wrote them down. It's interesting because I feel like my goals are very informal now. While once upon a time my goals were like stand on an Olympic podium, it's there. But graduating from college is probably my number one sort of short-term goal. I should be done this fall. So I'm really excited about that. And I know my parents will be thrilled after 13 years when I can check university off the list. For me, one of my major goals is to be open to learning. I think that especially as an Olympian, once you get to that point, you've sort of been like elite for many years. And I think it's difficult to allow yourself to start something new and just be really bad at it and be okay with it. And so for me, one of my goals is to just be okay not being good at things and embracing the newness and embracing like all the chaos that comes with starting something different. Mm-hmm. Finding like happiness along sort of that path is another goal of mine, and spending more time with family and friends, because I'm sure you and Sean can relate when you're competing and you're training, a lot of things sort of get pushed to the side, and sport comes first, and then you miss birthday parties and you miss family weddings and engagements and things like that. And so really prioritizing family and friends is something that is a big goal of mine as well.
Nice. I'm excited for what's next for you. Thank you for your patience in putting up with my spaciness during this interview. This is the first interview that I've done since having been released, and just everything you're saying, I was like going on this philosophical tangent in my mind, but I appreciate all the bombs of wisdom that you dropped. And
no, it's my pleasure. Sorry, I just interrupted you, but how cool that you are already on this path with this show, after being released, and you already have this, and you've already learned so many of these lessons. And I feel like the fact that you are so dedicated to telling these stories and communicating this really important and sometimes difficult idea to other people, it's pretty epic. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. Congrats to you and your husband on the wedding. And I look forward to staying in touch, Meryl. This was fun.
Yes, we should chat. Congratulations on the coming baby too.
Thank you.